All right, the engine is here. I've stared at it long enough. It's time to get some wrenches out and screw this thing up. We got the engine delivered. It is unboxed and it's ready for me to start working on. I have an incredible amount of parts associated with this part of the build, and it's time to start attaching them to the engine and then the engine to the plane. All of that I think is going to happen probably sooner than I expect, as there's not a lot that needs to be done before it makes sense to bolt this up to the plane. But there are a few things. The first thing on my list is to get my governor installed. Now, why the governor? There are a lot of parts on this engine that are going to be easier to install when it's mounted to the plane. The access to the underside will be better. However, the access to the backside is going to be a lot more difficult. The governor hangs off the back along with some other various fittings that I'm going to install. At that point, it'll make the most sense to lift it off of the pallet and get it mounted to the plane. That's the goal. Let's start working towards it. Aligning the splines on the governor with those on the engine took a couple tries. A heads up to all those that are building along. These are not the correct bolts to install your governor. I will figure this out myself at a later and much more inconvenient time. Also, this is like a beautiful freeze frame in black and white. I feel like I should print it out and hang it on my wall. So far, this is pretty much exactly what I expected out of this portion of the build. Close quarters, improper tools, and a relatively simple task impeded by a bunch of nonsense. I don't have the right sockets and adapters to get in and tighten these bolts. Frustratingly, the studs should be at least 1.25 inch from the base of this mount to the tip of the stud, and I have 1.5. I mean, when did a little extra length be a bad thing? However, it means my socket bottoms out before I can get it fully torqued, and so likely I'll have to use an open-ended wrench in order to final torque these, and to do that I need to get some adapters for my torque wrench. So off to the hardware store. I'm sure it is far from the last trip to the parts store or hardware store by the time this thing is done. It's exactly what I wanted out of this. This is truly the reality of wrenching on motors. So I sort of reclocked that governor, allowing for better geometry on the control arm to the bracket so that everything aligns with the control cable, which will eventually be installed there. That required cutting safety wire, and so that of course had to be replaced. Cue my first go at safety wire, which actually wasn't too bad. Safety wire game is a bit rough. Haven't done this before, but it's a good challenge. It's a fun challenge, I think. Which actually wasn't too bad, all considering. I did wind up having to redo a couple of those, but it's looking good now. If you're at this point in your build and you're starting to feel lost, you are not alone. I can assure you that because I am right there with you. Luckily, I've met some fantastic people along the way in this build who have been just wonderful to work with and extremely helpful, especially when I find myself without a clue on what to do next. We'll give a shout out to some of those people coming up, but I don't think that I'll ever be able to say that I've built this plane all by myself, because I haven't. I've needed to be bailed out quite a few times, and the start of this engine is definitely one of those times. 15.5, so just the data tag's wrong.
Okay, yeah, both of those are cooler hoses.
Okay.
All right. Then you've got several dash 4 hoses, one being a 4A.
I got this whole beast rotated 180, and if you're wondering why, well, cue the montage music because I'm about to do something silly. I'll tell you, once it got light, reality set in. That I have basically my life savings suspended from the cheapest tools I could buy. But honestly, I don't know how well thought out this all was on my end. I'm worried I'm not going to have enough height here. think that's it. I think that's the position I need. Oh boy, something tells me I wanted to start with this one. It's in. Just gotta get them mount seated. It is in. They're all in. Oh man. Unbelievable. It's on. The plane has an engine. Oh man. I didn't even swear that much. Freaking incredible. I can't believe it. The plane has an engine. I'm a little disappointed. I totally did not get my money's worth out of the engine hoist. Holy crap. Had the thing for like a half an hour and that's it. I kid. That was much longer than half an hour. And every minute of it was absolutely nerve-wracking. But it went off really smoothly. The only thing that I would note is I wound up having to modify a wrench for this one. And the angles to get it in there, the load leveler, absolutely necessary. You have to sit there and just kind of maneuver this thing in, and then once it's in, kind of tweaking it around to get your engine mounts in there. But it's on, and it's just incredible. I can't believe I'm here. I gotta say, on top of everything about this, mounting an engine, an expensive one at that, to the front of a plane by yourself, running around and filming it is exhausting. No less than like 6 lens changes, 2 batteries, 1 memory card. If I didn't earn your thumbs up on this one, I don't think I ever will. And that's about it for this one, mainly because that was about it for that day. Ending on a good note beats pushing until the day turns sour anytime. Truth is, I have a lot more to share. I have no idea if any of this is right. I don't have any way to check. But I'm headed out of town and most of this is being edited somewhere over the Nevada desert in a plane flown by the Harbor Freight of air carriers with a dog higher than Robert Downey Jr. circa 1996. So not only will next video include more build, but details of how that trip went as well. I'll leave you with this. Some music, mainly for the dude that says it wrecks the video, and some glamour shots of the engine hanging from the front of my plane. I figure if I can't get enough of staring at it, perhaps y'all wouldn't mind gazing a bit too. Take care, be nice, and see you next time on Ryan Flies. Human